Welcome, and thank you for investing your time to join in today's Leadership Adapting to the New Normal in Business webinar. Today, we will look at the importance of business leadership and in particular, how to adapt to the new normal in business that is emerging at a rapid rate since the onset of the global pandemic. Have your pen and paper ready as we'll be moving quickly and I have a lot of information to share with you. Please open your chat box if you haven't already and feel free to type your questions in as we go through this workshop. So what makes a good leader? Leadership is defined as a process of social influence which maximizes the efforts of others towards the achievement of a goal. In today's economic environment, the task of leadership is still fundamentally the same. What has changed is that we will now lead our teams with a new set of tools whilst focusing on shorter-term goals. The need to focus on shorter-term goals has become essential, mainly due to the speed of change that is occurring in every aspect of business as a result of COVID-19. We must be ready and prepared to change direction at a moment's notice. There are 4 areas that we have identified where strong leadership is crucial within all businesses. Number 1 is communication. Communication with team members, your customers, suppliers, and stakeholders, and communication with the broader community. It is vitally important that the communication channels are updated and communicated on a regular basis. Number 2 is be positive. Lead your people, look for the small wins every hour, every day. Panic and worry never helped anyone. Number 3 is be prepared to change. Lead the change. Look at all the areas of your business, including your products and services, pricing, delivery, and staffing. Look for opportunities in each of these areas that will have a positive impact from any changes you may make. And number 4 is keep marketing your business. Your marketing message has to change. What your message was 3, 5, 6 months ago may no longer be relevant. Change your message to what the market needs right now. It must be compassionate. It must also be relevant. More importantly, don't stop your marketing. Remember, for every downturn, it is followed by an upturn. Your ongoing and relevant marketing message will keep your business front of mind with your customer base for when we come out the other side. And yes, there will be an other side. Leading requires a focus on the 3O model. You may want to write these down. The first is outcomes. Lead with purpose for reaching a desired outcome. Ensure the team understand what the common goals are that everyone is striving for. Identify your barriers to outcomes. For example, isolation or working remotely, the lack of environmental cues, including government interventions, and less repetition of messages. So these are things that can affect the desired outcomes that you're aiming to achieve. The second is others. Lead with and through people, your team, your key strategic alliance partners, and also your suppliers. You are more influential when you focus on others. Team members are more engaged when you focus on them. And then thirdly, it's ourselves. Identify with your beliefs, your values, and assumptions. Who you are and how you lead is important wherever your people work. Notice that outcomes and others comes before ourselves. This is the basis of the servant leadership principles. Anyone who strives to be a leader should always be changing and improving based on the information they learn and what their followers need from them. The longer you think like and act as a leader, the more likely it is that you'll change the way you choose to complete the sentence. A good leader should always. So complete this statement in your own words by typing your thoughts into the chat box now. So that is, a good leader should always. In order to grow as a leader, you first need to know where you stand as a leader. So let's take a look at the different styles of leadership. The individualist. An individualist leader is self-aware, creative, and primarily focused on their own actions as opposed to the overall organizational performance. They're exceptionally driven by the desire to exceed personal goals and constantly improve upon their skills. Here are some statements that an individualist leader might agree with. A good leader should always trust their own intuition over established organizational processes. It's important to be able to relate to others so I can easily communicate complex ideas to them. Or they might say, I'm more comfortable with progress than sustained success. The strategist leader. Strategists are extremely aware of the environments in which they operate. They make it a point to gather a deep understanding of the structures and processes that make their businesses tick. But they're also able to keep perspective, apply critical thinking, and evaluate what could be improved. Here are some things that a strategist might say. A good leader should always be able to build a consensus in divided groups. Or it's important to help develop an organization as a whole in addition to the growth of individuals. And then they might also say conflict is inevitable, but I know enough about my team's personal and professional relationships to handle that friction. The next type of leader is the alchemist. What distinguishes alchemists from other action logics is their unique ability to see the big picture in everything, while also understanding the need to take details seriously. Under this type of leadership, no department or team member is overlooked. Here are some statements that an alchemist leader might agree with. A good leader helps their team members reach their highest potential and possesses the necessary empathy and moral awareness to get there. Or it might be, it's important to make a profound and positive impact on whatever I'm working on. Another area that they might agree in is, I have a unique ability to balance short-term needs and long-term goals. The next type of leader is the opportunist. Opportunists are guided by a certain innate level of mistrust in others and rely on a facade of control to keep their team members in line. These types of people usually believe in the adage of an eye for an eye. Some things that an opportunist might say would be, a good leader should always view others as a potential competition to be bested, even if it's at the expense of their professional development. Or they might say, I reserve the right to reject the input of those who question or criticize my ideas. Then there's the diplomat. The diplomat is not concerned with assuming control. Instead, they seek to cause minimal impact by conforming to existing norms and completing their daily tasks with as little friction as possible. Here are some things a diplomat might say. A good leader should always resist change since it risks causing instability. Or it's important to provide the social glue in team situation safely away from conflict. Or they might tend to say, I tend to thrive in more team-orientated or supporting leadership roles. The next type of leader is the expert. The expert is always at the front line of their field and continuously strives to perfect their knowledge and meet their own high standards. The expert is fantastic as a contributor and a source of knowledge, but can usually stand to improve in the field of emotional intelligence. Here are some statements that the expert might agree with. A good leader should prioritize their own pursuit of knowledge over the needs of the organization and their direct reports. Or, when problem solving with others in the company, my opinion tends to be the correct one. So my question for you is, which type of leader are you? Regardless of what type of leadership style you may fall into, we know that there are aspects that you should always be trying to improve. And perhaps the most important one is communication. As a leader, you need to be able to clearly and succinctly explain goals, tasks, and everything in between with all your team members. This means mastering all forms of communication, including one-on-one, departmental, and team-wide, as well as following proper etiquette for communication via telephone, Zoom, emails, and social media. A large part of communicating well involves creating an open and steady flow of communication to and from your team and creating an environment of trustworthiness and positive feedback when people do choose to come to you with ideas. A few things that everyone can benefit from working on in terms of communication include reading the body language of those that you're communicating with, reducing ambiguity in both written and spoken language, learning more about active listening, and developing an understanding of DISC and how to adapt with how the different DISC styles like to communicate. Leading successfully requires an understanding of what people are thinking, not just what they are doing. Leaders need to see and also be seen. C relates to how you gather information needed to understand what is going on within the organization. Be seen relates to how others get their information about and from you as their leader. As a leader, be more aware of the impressions you are making, both internally and externally to your organization. Are you visible to your team, and what are they seeing about your leadership? In a high-performance culture, there tends to be open, fluid lines of communication. The flow of information should be constant and free, from top leadership on down to the entry-level workers. As a leader, you may want to make sure internal communication is a priority. To ensure those messages are getting out, ask yourself these questions. Has everyone been informed? Is this information important to build stronger teams? And finally, will this information affect jobs? When employees feel that they are informed, they are more likely to stay engaged in the work at hand. Delegation allows you to focus your own attention on high-level tasks, thus creating a more functional system for the business overall. At the same time, you're teaching your team members new skills. Involving your team in the big picture will ensure that they feel as if they are a part of the whole initiative. It is important to outline what the key goal or objective is. why it is important, and what learning may be required, and then set up a plan of action, preferably with the team member or members involved. You can't just expect your team to know precisely what you want from them. In addition to providing critical aspects of the project, make a list of everything that you can think that will help your workers with this task or project. Remember, true communication is the response you get despite your best intention. Let me give an example. A few years ago, I was working in New Guinea, and I was standing out in the field with one of my colleagues, whose name was Tom. And we were just chatting about some areas that we could improve in our operation of the business. Whilst we were talking, Tom called one of his employees over named Bucky, and he said, oh, Bucky, would you mind just see that pile of rubbish over there? Could you grab the ute, put the rubbish in the back of the ute, and then take it down to the back corner of the paddock and burn it, please? So whilst we continued talking, Bucky went and loaded the ute up, and we saw him drive off down towards the corner of the paddock. Tom and I were talking for probably another 10 or 15 minutes, and Tom suddenly said, goodness, where's Bucky? He should be back by now. Anyway, we continued to chat for a bit longer, and then all of a sudden we saw Bucky walking up the roadway. When he got to us, Tom said to Bucky, why are you walking? Where's the ute? And Bucky responded, but boss, you said to put the rubbish in the back of the ute, take the ute down to the corner and burn it. So I did. So the moral of the story is, remember, true communication is the response that you get despite your best intention. When you are delegating, check that your team has understood properly what you have communicated by asking them to repeat back to you what they have understood in your message. You certainly don't want people taking the ute down the back to burn the rubbish and burn the ute with it. A big key to delegating effectively is being in touch with your team. Knowing who is best suited for certain tasks will go a long way in delegating appropriate work. You might have one employee who excels in big picture brainstorming ideas and another who does better with detail-orientated tasks. Knowing what each person can bring to the table is crucial in deciding where and how to best delegate tasks. A single task can be effectively completed in a dozen different ways, and your way may not be the right way for someone else. DISC assessments will help you to understand why this is with each of your different team members. As a certified DISC and motivators assessor, I can arrange for the right tools to assist you in getting to know and understand what inspires and motivates your team members in the workplace. Embrace creativity and ask for feedback about the instructions that you have provided. If circumstances allow, encourage your team members to try new ways of completing the task. You never know, they could come up with a method much better and faster, which may never have occurred to you. So some tips for success. Take note of the following tasks and set up your team for the ultimate success. Please write these down. Decide what to delegate. 2, pick the right people for the task. 3 is communicate clearly what is required. 4 is check in, but don't be overbearing or micromanage. And 5 is celebrate the wins and share in rewards. Give credit where credit is due. Let me repeat those again. So number 1 is decide what to delegate. Number 2 is pick the right people for the task. Number 3, communicate clearly what is required. 4, check in, but don't be overbearing or micromanage. And number 5 is celebrate the wins and share the rewards. Give credit where credit is due. So the path your business follows is really decided right now. Right now, business is on the path of coming out of survive and heading into the drive and thrive phase, depending on which state you are operating in. Which path your business follows is decided the minute that you start planning which path you want your business to follow. How well you and your business come out of the survive phase will depend how well you have planned ahead. The business leaders who have adopted strong leadership have sought out options for applying a change or pivot strategy. They have created an action plan for adapting their business model, engaging with their customers differently, shifting the products and services, and reallocating resources such as team members, marketing, and sales efforts. Which of the 3 curves do you want your business to follow? Will you be creating a plan for buoyant trading? Even if you create a plan for buoyant trading and end up with tough trading, this is still far better than having no plan at all. The reality is that tens of thousands of businesses who are not aware of how to change or pivot now and come out of this with a strong plan will suffer the lower curve and may not be in business by the end of 2020. What must you do differently, and how must your business model be adapted to achieve the top curve? It is fair to say that while some businesses have been dramatically impacted, such as the hospitality industry and some sectors of the retail industry, there has also been other industries that have thrived, such as the manufacturing industry and some sectors of the trades industries in this COVID environment. What will your path forward look like? With the speed of change that is occurring within the business environment as a result of the pandemic, right now, business has become a 90-day game. Your leadership focus must be on creating a 90-day plan that is relevant for your business right now. Include the key members of your team in creating the plan. Who knows? They may have some great ideas that you may not have thought of. The 90-day plan must have 3 to 4 key goals or outcomes the business needs to achieve over the next 90 days. The next step is to identify 5+ action steps that will be required to achieve the outcome and then share the plan. When everyone is on board and is collectively contributing to the goals or outcomes, the likelihood of the outcomes being achieved is significantly higher. Some areas you may want to consider as part of your current 90-day plans may include changing your business model, that is pivoting. What can you do to sell your products or services differently? Virtual is the new normal. How can you adapt to the new virtual way of doing business? For example, an online store, staff working remotely. The third area to look at might be cash flow management. How well do you know your numbers? What systems do you need to put in place to provide you with the right information in order to make better decisions with? Your marketing and marketing message. What needs to change with your communication and your education messages for your customers and prospects? Sales and sales training. Is there a need to train your team to be more empathetic with their sales processes in serving their customers? And then customer service delivery. review and challenge yourself in what you are doing right now to keep your customers on board. Is it relevant? Is it serving your customers' requirements well? If you are serious about playing the 90-day game in your business, attend our virtual 90-day planning workshop next Tuesday, the 27th of October, for $129 or $79 for 2 or more people in your organization. Email me right now and I will send you the link with the workshop details and how to register for this workshop. When you register, I will send you a pre-planning workbook to help you look at your rear vision mirror. What were your wins? What were your challenges? What were your learnings? And what will you change going forward? The key with the pre-planning workbook is to identify your next 12-month goals and break them down into smaller goals that you would need to focus on and achieve in the next 90 days. Email me now for the workshop details, or please reach out if you have any questions. Leadership sits at the intersection between a company's main operations and its growth opportunities. Strategic leadership requires being constantly vigilant, honing your ability to anticipate by scanning the environment for signals of change. Strategic leadership also requires a tendency to want to study failures, your own and your team's, as a constructive way to find the hidden lessons. The mantra is, what went wrong? What can we do to make sure this doesn't happen again? Leading successfully requires achieving goals of many types. Firstly, organizational outcomes, having clear targets and frequent discussion with the team. Then there's the team outcomes. People must know what they do that fits into the work and the success of the team. Then there's the personal and individual outcomes. Develop both goals and expectations. Establish the rules for working together and how to get support. And describe what good communication looks like. When was the last time that you set aside some time to develop your own strategic plan for your business? Who did you involve as part of that strategic planning process? For example, every 12 months, I facilitate a strategic planning session with my clients. The reason we do this is to reset the goals for the business based on what they have learned to date, changes taking place in the marketplace, changes in the economic environment, and then also looking at changes within the team. My role as the facilitator is to challenge my clients and their team members to think differently, to think bigger, identify the issues and the opportunities, and then relate those into new goals for the business. My clients love this process as it helps keep them focused on the right things for sustainably growing their business. My question for you right now is, how prepared are you and your business to take advantage of the new opportunities that will present themselves as we come out the other side of this economic downturn? So your pathway to the opportunities ahead. This diagram depicts each of the areas both at a personal and a business level. So we've identified the 5 phases that you will go through within your business through this global pandemic. In helping you act now, this chart is a great depiction on how to prepare and plan your path for moving forward and staying ahead of the game. It outlines what you need to be considering at a personal level as well as the business level through each phase of the cycle. The great unknown for everyone is how long each phase will last. And with what we now know, we could even take a step backward at any time. Victoria is an example of this. What is important is that you have considered and created a plan that is flexible enough to move you quickly from one phase to another, both forwards and backwards. Those that have prepared and planned well will be so far ahead of the game and will bounce forward far faster than those who have not taken the time to plan their pathway forward. We are repeatedly hearing our government sectors talking about how they are preparing and planning for what is the unknown. Shouldn't we be doing the same thing in our businesses too? Remember, in Brian Tracy's words, every minute spent on planning will save you 10 minutes in execution. Let me repeat that. Every minute spent on planning will save you 10 minutes in execution. If you have not already started planning, make a decision to start today. It has never been more important. This is one area that I can assist you with in strategic planning and helping getting you started, particularly if you're not sure where to start. We are now in the last quarter of the calendar year, and this is the ideal time to start creating your strategic plan for 2021. There is no argument that most businesses would like to put 2020 behind them and reset where their business is heading into the future. Utilizing the pathway to the opportunities ahead outlined in the previous slide, I would love the opportunity to work with you and your team in facilitating your strategic planning session to refocus the business and the team in being prepared and ready for the next 12 months. We would work together to set the agenda and plan for the meeting prior to the actual strategic planning session. Please type in the chat box, yes please, if you would like to find out more about the strategic planning session and what it might look like for you and your business. Alternatively, you can email me if you would like some more details. The way forward to ensure that the business not only survives but thrives well into the future is to gain clarity on the right things that you need to apply your attention, energy, and focus to right now. Please reach out if you have any questions. I'm here to help. One thing for sure is that the way we conduct our business in the future will be different, and we must find ways to adapt to the new normal. Your job as the leader of your business is to keep your team focused without fear. They will be naturally concerned and fearful for their jobs, how they will provide for their families. To keep them focused, you will need to reassure them constantly, even every day, even several times a day. Keep them informed on how the business is tracking. Fear is worse than the actual thing. Your team needs to see you leading from the front. The team needs to see you setting the immediate direction for the business. They need to see you communicating with customers, being in front of other people. Give your team something to focus on. More importantly than ever before, now is the time for you to be the leader in your business, and remember, just like the virus, your mindset is infectious. Be mindful what you are spreading. I'll repeat that. Just like the virus, your mindset is infectious. Be mindful what you are spreading. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day to join me. I absolutely love getting to chat with you, and I hope that you have learned something valuable. I also want to add how proud I am of each of you for taking the steps forward to becoming a better leader. If you have any further questions about what we discussed, please post them in the chat box or email me now. Chances are that someone else is wondering the same thing. If you want to continue exploring upon how to improve and hone in on your leadership skills and style, or anything else, feel free to email me at philbajura@actioncoach.com. Thank you again. I'm here to help.